So yeah, Batman: Mask of the Phantasm. This movie is as old as I am. Like, this movie came out in theaters back in '93, and I never, of course, I was born in '93, so I never got to see it in theaters. It was nice to see it in theaters again with all these new Batman fans of a new generation, like new and older. There were a bunch of like old and newer Batman fans, young people, older people. So it was really nice to see how.
I didn't get a good view of the audience, but I think it was like I think they were around our age.
Yeah. So this movie was takes place in the DCE animated universe, which started back in '92 with Batman the Animated Series and ended in 2007, I believe, with Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah.
So
obviously, like, since Batman was the first one, you can definitely tell the animation was definitely made.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that the animation budget for this movie was definitely amped up.
Yeah,
from a cartoon series, from the TV series.
Yeah, you didn't get to see the opening, but there was like a 3D, like the 3D animation.
The 3D scope of the like early '90s 3D, where you see like the scope of the city while it's got this like orchestral score going on. It's really cool. The way it pans out of the city, you can see the city is like.
Yeah, and it has probably one of I think the second best Batman theme I've listened to.
I think it said at the end Hans Zimmer. I didn't know Hans Zimmer was involved in this one.
Hans Zimmer was involved in Dark Knight.
He was.
Batman Begins.
Nice.
The composer for this one is Shirley Walker.
Yeah. At the end, I thought it said Hans Zimmer. In the credits.
I think mainly because they used his studio or something.
Maybe. So the plot here is Batman, who it shows the origin of Batman
through flashbacks.
Through flashbacks, yeah. It's a very dark kids movie. This movie came out back in '93. It got a PG rating. If it came out now, it definitely got a PG-13 rating. It's got a lot of dark humor. It's got a lot of explosions, a lot of romance. It's a very well told story. I really wish it could have been like 20 minutes longer so you can have a little more development. But
yeah,
if they asked for more money back at that, I'm pretty sure this movie flopped when it came out back in '93. It made like $6 million in theaters, and
again, this was like a time where superhero movies weren't like really big. Of course, like we were running off like the somewhat success of, I think it was Batman Returns.
Batman Returns was '92. That's what Danny DeVito.
and I think this was released after that.
Yeah,
like way after that.
1 year after. So plot here is it starts out. It's a mafia movie where some guy called the Phantasm is killing off mobsters and trying to frame the Batman. Well, not trying to frame him. It just happens to people. Batman happens to be there, so people are blaming Batman.
People think it's the Batman.
So people think it's Batman.
So yeah, there obviously, you can definitely tell there's a lot that reminds. Like, if you've seen The Dark Knight, I think it's kind of, there's like elements of that, like, that Christopher Nolan took from that incarnation. But then again, like, all the movies based on Batman take like everything from like the comics.
Yeah. So, like there are some things that change in the DCAU, Barbara Gordon doesn't become paraplegic, so because Joker doesn't shoot her in the chest and make her paralyzed from the waist down. So there are some changes, but
I don't think they
didn't do that in the DCAU. They do that in
the Killing Joke.
Yeah, but that's not part of the DCAU. Anyway, so it starts off and it's really cool. You have this really cool 3D like cityscape, landscape, and then it zooms out with this orchestral score playing. Batman, there's this casino where people are trying to launder fake money.
And then Batman
comes in, kicks their asses. The mob boss is in charge. Run into a garage. He gets chased by the Phantasm. And the Phantasm ends up killing him. And people see Batman, think Batman did it because they see Batman happen to be there. So.
You got the fear-mongering congressman who just tries to fuel that, and eventually, like, the police go after Batman, like, and it's kind of reminiscent of like the comic Year One, where they're basically trying to hunt him down.
Yeah. One thing that I think that they could have done a little bit better with elaborating on this movie was there's a scene where the corrupt congressman who turns out, spoiler, I mean, there's no such thing as spoiling a movie that's over 2.5 decades old. This movie's 25 years old. We're going to spoil the hell out of it. I mean, you can't really spoil a movie that's over a quarter century old now.
Yeah.
So what happens is I really think that there's a scene where the corrupt congressman who sold out Andrea's father to the mafia for money because he was in debt to the mafia. And the mafia was offering a reward to find him. He sells him to the mafia. The Joker meets up with him and tries to blackmail him, and then it cuts to a flashback. We see like shadows of him struggling with the Joker. The next scene he's in a hospital. If you've watched the animated series, you would know the Joker has this thing called fear gas or fear toxin. No, that's just character. Sorry, he has this laughing gas. This formula which causes people to go into like insane fits of laughter, which attacks them on a molecular level. It attacks their cells. So like Batman had to engineer some kind of genetic thing to combat it. But we never see the Joker in this movie use it. It's implied he assaulted him, but we never see why it caused him to do that. If you haven't seen the animated series, you wouldn't know the Joker has this special gas. I think like it didn't do a good job of introducing itself as its own standalone movie. It does require some knowledge of the animated series to understand it.
I think if they did that, they wouldn't have this like cool transition from the Joker's laugh to eventually the congressman just like laughing hysterically.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that was I feel like that transition I think it was a cool cinematic like idea.
It was
to go into what happens to him.
But they still could have done a better job, in my opinion, elaborating on how he did it. Like 1 second the Joker's choking him, and the next second he's in a fit of laughter in a mental hospital, and we never see the Joker using his laughing gas on him. So it would be nice, like I think like a 5-second explanation saying, "I'm gonna shoot you with my laughing gas" or something like that. I mean, like something like that.
It's an animated movie. I think a lot of it should be. I think with animation, I think you can definitely move like you can definitely. There's a lot of things you can defy when you're making when you're animating it on paper.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, it's that type of movie that just like that has like a very concise story, and like you don't need like more than like 2 hours to just.
It's an hour and a half of building.
Exactly. You don't need more than that to just like tell it.
So the movie goes into Bruce Wayne or Batman's past and tells us how he met up with this woman called Andrea Beaumont or whatever.
Yeah.
And about how he fall in love with her, but every time Batman falls in love with someone, travesty always happens, and then he realizes that his commitment to crime fighting is more important. Is as much as he wants to be happy, he has committed himself to fighting crime, and that unfortunately neglects him from having a love life. And there's a scene in the movie where he says, where he's talking to his parents at their grave. He says parents' grave, and he's like, "I can give money to the city. They'll hire more cops." And then he's like, "Please don't do this to me, Dad. I never planned on being happy." I never planned on being happy. He dedicated his entire life to like learning jujitsu and martial arts with ninjas, and he never once dedicated a second of his life to meeting people or becoming friends with anyone. So,
by the way, like, so obviously, like, the Batman memes are obviously there. You know.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's talking about like Batman fighting crime because his parents are dead.
Yeah.
Like this I think is where. I don't know. I was just kind of.
It's Paul Dini's. Are you saying?
What? Go ahead.
It's Paul Dini's and Bruce Timm's excellent writing that made this character feel fleshed out and human. Like Mr. Freeze, you take a stock villain like him, and Paul Dini turned it into made him a very human character. He's afraid of losing his wife. Spoiler for Batman the Animated Series. He wants to preserve his life's wife, but the only way to keep her alive is to keep her cryogenically frozen, but he can't come in contact with her. So it's like, and so you have all these characters that are.
Speaking of which, watch Batman Sub-Zero.
Yeah,
that is a great
movie. It wasn't really a movie. It was only 60 minutes long. It was more like it was.
Well, either way,
Sub-Zero. I wish that was a good one. Sub-Zero was good. Anyway. You have Bruce Timm and Paul Dini were both excellent writers. Unfortunately, they left back in 2015 for some reason. They left the DC Comics. Well, I'm not sure about Bruce Timm, but I know Paul Dini in 2014 or something like that. He left Warner Brothers for some reason. I don't know why. And that's why the plot for Batman Arkham Knight, the video game, sucked ass. The game sucked. I mean, the game didn't suck, but the plot sucked. I like the gameplay.
I think Tim still. Still like a supervising producer over like a lot of the animated.
But
DC
Paul Dini's
movies.
gone. Paul Dini's left them for good, I think.
Oh well, that's a shame.
Yeah, it's a shame because he was a really good writer. So yeah, you have these very fleshed out characters, and then it's juxtaposed with a Joker who's who's the comic relief character of the film. Who in this version of Batman, the Joker was like a bodyguard to the mafia, who helped kill Andrea's father. Spoiler alert. So it turns out that the Phantasm was actually Andrea, not her father, and she wants revenge. So the Phantasm is and she's using some kind of like some kind of special gas to like make her intangible or something. It's comic books. I mean,
What I think about the Phantasm, I think, like, I don't know, you look at the history of like Batman's other, love interests.
You have Catwoman. You have that.
You have Catwoman.
You have the
two versions of Catwoman.
Two versions of Catwoman. You have Wonder Woman. You have
Well, in the movies mostly. So.
And in the DC, in the DCU, Wonder Woman was after him, and he didn't like him.
Well, okay, but I don't know. Like when you look at other movies, like I don't know. As much as I love The Dark Knight, like that female lead, I never really was a huge fan of.
Female in The Dark Knights? You mean Dark Knight Rises or Dark Knight?
Well,
the Heath Ledger one or the one with Bane, Tom Hardy one?
The Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. Rachel,
right, Rachel.
Yeah, I just...
She was cannon fodder. You knew she was gonna die.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know. I think, when you look at the comics, Batman had like better.
We're here to discuss the movie. So yeah, the movie.
But I think more.
What I never knew was at the end of the credits, I recognize this old guy's voice from somewhere. Abe Vigoda plays a mob boss.
He plays.
They got Abe Vigoda for this movie.
He plays the one that goes to the Joker.
Yeah, and he goes to the Joker out of desperation, thinking that Batman's going to try and kill him next. But then Joker kills him, and then uses his body as a dummy.
What's so great about that conversation is that this is like Abe Vigoda in like I think he's channeling Godfather and Mark Hamill,
that's hilarious.
And the thing about it is like
Mark Hamill voices Joker.
These two are just basically like a, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's like
of the 70s.
Well, basically kind of like a comedy duo, just like I don't know. They're like conversing with each other like they're old friends, but like it's like like one guy's like super crazy. I think it reminds me more of like Pinky and the Brain almost.
Kind of.
Which is funny because like that's also a Warner Brothers cartoon.
Yeah. Except in this version, the brain actually does something and gets somewhere.
And the Pinky betrays him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think what's great about that was like when Joker killed that mob boss, like he immediately like figured out like
it was the woman, because he knew that her father was dead, because he was I think he was the bodyguard for the mafia.
Yeah, and then he tried to kill her in her apartment.
What I really wish they would have done with this movie is that in the comics and other versions of the other cartoons that are not in the DCAU, the Joker is shown off as being a gangster called Red Hood who falls into a pit of acid. That was also portrayed in the Jack Nicholson movie, the 1988 Batman movie, where he falls into a pit of acid and his molecules get all mixed up and he becomes insane. In this version, we never see how he becomes insane, and I think it would have been cool if they showed like maybe in the cartoon, or maybe if there was like an extra 5-minute sequence showing how a Joker became pure insane.
Who knows what happened? Who knows what happened?
Part of the Joker is what makes him so cool is his mystique. No one knows for sure how he became evil. He's just a personification of pure evil, and we don't know how.
He's like the antithesis to Batman mostly. And
you can't kill me because you need me because I complete you, and I can't kill you because you're too much fun. That was Heath Ledger. I remember that.
yeah,
Was funny.
and well, here's the thing. What's funny is that Batman is trying to persuade Andrea not to kill the Joker.
Yeah.
Because, and that's and I think that's pretty, and that's a pretty crazy thing, because Batman always trying to stop the Joker. It's like throughout the whole thing, he never kills him.
Yeah, because Batman ever since the Silver Age, I think, or maybe it's the Copper Bronze Age, I don't know. But ever since the ever since the 80s and 90s, Batman has been remodeled as like a no killing character. He sometimes kills like vampires and demons and stuff, but he never kills.
Well, that's
humans.
when Frank Miller writes him into like this psychopathic.
or like when he fights Dracula and Batman versus Dracula, he kills him, but he's already a vampire. He's not really human, so he kills like vampires and demons, but he never kills humans. Point is, Batman is supposed to be this like pure good character, and here you have like pure good and pure evil. You have this yin yang thing going with the Joker, and in the middle of that, you have a third character that represents both of them. You have Andrea, who represents the purity of his love life and all this stuff, but at the same time, she lives for revenge. So she's conflicted. And you can see how she's trying to do the right thing, but in her mind, there is no other way to fight the mafia except for to kill them. Because Batman's like, no killing, and she's like, I have to kill them, and like you have this yin yang thing. It's like you have yin yang, and then you have this third thing that gets involved and becomes more complicated.
Oh yeah, and where it takes place is like the most amazing thing.
Yeah, I think it was in a theme park.
Yes. Oh my God. The best part.
It's like kind of like Disney World's or like Future World.
Yeah, if Godzilla and King Kong fought each other.
Yeah, that would have been hilarious.
I love the part. Like the best part, it's got like the most cartoony moment, and possibly the most cinematic moment, because it's, I don't know. There's like the way the Joker like knocks Batman out. Like he's hiding in like an apartment building, and it's like, bam! Like he takes it off, bam, and all of a sudden it becomes like a kaiju fight.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think the way they played around with the whole thing was really amazing.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. I also like the what's the thing? Oh yeah. The guy, Arthur Reeves. I thought at first his name was Arthur Reed, like Arthur the
Congressman.
Yeah, the congressman, Arthur Reeves. I thought it was like Arthur. We never see if he lives or dies. It's implied he dies, but
well, I don't know if he.
We never see him again in the series or the movie, so it's implied that he's dead.
I mean, who knows?
Yeah, I like how these things like leave things up to interpretation. I think that now there is some speculation that there was going to be like a PG-13 cut of this movie, like Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker, where you see
that was rated PG-13.
Yeah, there was two versions. There's the PG one where Joker gets electrocuted, and then there's the PG-13 version where he gets shot through the heart.
Oh,
remember that one?
I
remember Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker.
I haven't watched it. I've heard of it. I think I watched whatever was on TV.
Did you see the one where he gets electrocuted?
Probably.
Yeah, that's the PG version, yeah. The PG-13, well, like for Batman Beyond the Joker, another Batman movie, there's two versions. There's in the PG version, Joker shoots a laughing gas gun at his henchman, and he laughs, and we see him like continue to laugh until the end of the scene. And in the next scene, we don't see him, so it's implied that he died. In the PG-13 version, he shoots him through the heart with a regular gun, and then he just falls over. And then the Joker confirms he's dead by saying, "Hello? Oh, that's right, you're dead." So I definitely felt like this came out back in '93, so there was no way of confirming this, because if this movie was made now, there'd be like a Twitter firestorm of a rumor saying, "Oh, there's like a hidden supercut where this guy was supposed to die." But back then, everything was hush hush, and everyone could keep a secret back then because there was no internet, no Twitter, and all that stuff. So I think if there was an alternate version of this movie, I would have liked to see more people getting killed. Like we would have seen more violence, all that stuff.
We did get a good kill count.
Yeah, we got
not just from the Phantasm, but also
we never know if Arthur Reeves dies or not.
I mean,
it would have been nice to see him die, considering he sold out his best friend to the mafia.
I think it was just only a movie character.
Yeah.
But then again, so was Andrea.
Yeah, Andrea. But she does appear in the
end.
The Batman Beyond episode, the Justice League episode of Justice League Unlimited Season 2, Episode 26. God, how I know that's not how to drive. Okay, see, Justice League Unlimited Season 2, Episode 26 of the series is called The End. It's the one where, or End Game, I think. No, that's the Season 3, that's the series finale.
Oh.
This one, it takes place 65 years in the future. We see Andrea again as an old woman, and she's arguing with Amanda Waller about killing Terry McGinnis's parents to try and put on the path to become Batman when he's 8 years old. And we see how and I really think that it would have been cool if they ever re-release this movie, have a scene from Justice League Unlimited, and they splice into the end like an after credit scene showing how Andrea has learned from Batman, saying how because I'm not moving off on a tangent here, but this does relate to the movie somehow. It shows how Andrea as a character grew in the future, like 30 years in the future. The episode takes place 65 years in the future, but the flashback takes place 30 years before that, or so. It's like 30 something years in the future. And we see a part where Amanda Waller wants this one kid to grow up to become Batman, so she has this project where she reverse engineers some guy's DNA to become an exact clone of Bruce Wayne's.
And so Terry becomes...
And then Terry gets born. And then when he's 8 years old, Amanda Waller hires Andrea to kill his parents to lead her on the path to becoming Batman. But then...
That was her?
Yeah, that was Andrea. That was the Phantasm. But then Andrea is about to kill him. Then she has an epiphany. She says, "No, this is wrong." And then Andrea confronts Amanda Waller, takes her mask off, and says, She says, Batman may be a lot of things, but he would never resort to murder." And she learns that from that if you really want to go, you want that. She learned from this movie that even though no matter how much you want something, you should never resort to killing people, because all it does is make you as bad as the people that you're out to get.
And speaking of which, yeah, I think it also comes up to like the animated series, because when this was released, Batman the animated series was still going strong.
Yeah, the animated series went from 92 to 95, and then there was a fourth season was titled The New Batman Adventures, where they did crossovers of Superman called The New Batman Adventures, and that was a
Batman Superman.
Yeah, right? that was the Batman. That was the when Superman the animated series came out, they wanted to do crossovers, so they changed the animation to make it more on par with Superman's.
And the Joker was still in it.
Yeah, so, and they redesigned all the characters to make them look different. And some of them were good, some of them were shit. Like the Joker and Batman the new animated series.
I guess so I guess if you're gonna tie this in with anything, anything like the entire lore of the Batman and DC animated,
It does a pretty good job standing on its own.
Yeah,
of
definitely.
introducing you to the characters. Some things were.
It's establishing the world, basically.
And one thing I really liked was like when Batman gets chased by like a SWAT team, because he gets framed for a bunch of murders. He gets chased by like a SWAT team. And
you see him,
and you see him. He's vulnerable. He's human.
He's the most vulnerable you've seen in like Batman movies without being like forced.
Yeah, because what happens is when he gets framed for murder, they chase him into an old abandoned building, and they launch tear gas at him. They shoot grenades at him. They try and blow him up. They attack him with everything. There's like bombs are dropping left and right, and and you can see how Batman is like huffing and puffing, and he's like struggling just to stay up.
And the final thing just like the one thing he does, like he just like uses his mask as a fodder, and he just runs, and the police are chasing. That
was an awesome scene. It goes to show how how Batman's like very very how smart he is, how he's able to like do what he does.
And I think that's what goes into like a good Batman story. You know, like not just the action, but like also kind of like there's like the mystery part of it.
It shows how Batman, how he's able to adapt to any situation. Like, I remember an old episode of Justice Friends that came back in the 70s. There was one episode where they kidnap all the Justice League members and strip them of their superpowers. Superman has no strength. The Green Lantern has no ring. The Flash has no speed. And Batman doesn't have his utility belt. So they all have to find a way to overcome their obstacles without their strengths and gadgets. And Batman, being the genius that he is able to take advantage of his environment. And like, then we're going off on a tangent here. This is back in the 1970s. But like you see all these different interpretations of him. You see how, in spite of all this, I mean, in the comics, there was one comic where he was deprived of sleep for days, injected with toxin in his bloodstream, like toxin out the anus, stripped into a straitjacket, buried 6 feet underground into a coffin, while being injected with like toxic laughing gas. After being deprived of sleep for days, and after all this, after being mentally and physically exhausted after fighting like 100 guys, after all this, he still manages to like break through the coffin and get out of the ground. Like, oh my god!
I'm sure there's a lot of explanations of how he's able to do it.
I know. It's like. Well, they say in the like I know Stanley just passed away today, so I have to quote him. What he likes to see is not the perfect person or the perfect hero. He wants to see heroes who are flawed, people who are relatable. And I know that Batman's not really relatable. I mean, he's got like he's a billionaire. He's got all these gadgets and stuff. But at the end of the day, what makes him a hero, the best hero in my opinion, he makes him my favorite superhero, is his humanity. He's the most relatable character because he doesn't have superpowers, but he's the most he does his best to try and not use the fact that, hey, I'm a rich asshole, I can do whatever I want. I'm part of the Justice League. I'm affiliated with Superman, all this stuff. I'm above the law. He does his best to obey the law, and sometimes as much as he wants, as much as good as that makes him feel, it does come back to bite him sometimes. But every once in a while, the law does help him get justice.
Yeah, I would say that, like, you know, for as much as I'm a bigger Marvel fan than I am
Really?
DC. I know like a good story. Like I know like a good story when I read it, because, and like of all the DC stories, I think, you know, I always go back to like a lot of the Batman comics.
Yeah, I'm still reading the Batman comics right now. This current issue, they have Penguin as a mob boss. He's becoming DC's version of the Kingpin, and that's pretty cool. You got like a 4'10" tall bald guy instead of as this mob boss. It's funny,
but yeah. So and this movie is like no exception. It's just one of the. It's like this is my personal favorite Batman.
It's also
film.
Doug Walker's favorite. You know, remember Nostalgia Critic? I think he said it was his favorite. Yeah. So, anything else? Any final thoughts?
I mean, what else is there? Like this. I mean, this is like I don't know. Like I feel like this is the best incarnation of Batman. But then again, like that's kind of like the animated series type of Batman, which, you know, has more leeway because it's on TV and it has more stories to tell instead of like one concise movie.
Yeah. So I think this movie's biggest problem, in my opinion, was, I mean, I wasn't alive back in the early 90s. I was born in 93.
Short.
Yeah, it was too short, and it wasn't marketed well. It came out, I think, around Christmas time back in 93, and it was going up against, like, Home Alone 2 came out in 92, so what else was going up against back in 93?
I mean, anything really.
I think if they just wait a couple more months, if they release this film in January, because January is normally the dead month for movies. Like there's nothing good coming out in January. If they release this movie in January of '94, probably would have got a lot.
And it's the '90s.
Yeah,
so
it's the '90s.
This was when everybody was still going to theaters.
Yeah. So yeah, it was,
And that, yeah. So a lot of this stuff goes through. You know, I mean, you know, Batman. He's everywhere now. Like. All the superheroes are everywhere now.
Yeah, I wish they would like maybe if they rebooted the DCAU or maybe made sequels to it or make.
I hear they're rebooting the DCEU.
Yeah, because it sucks ass.
Well, I'm hoping that we get like something close. Well, if nothing, just like inspired by that.
I'd rather have nothing than a garbage DCAU. It's funny when it comes. Sorry, you're saying?
Well, I don't know, like. You know, whatever worked. I think if they go back to I think you know what's I think the reason why the MCU works is because it's sticking to some classic ideas, but also like being able to modernize them instead of like
and plus with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they for the most part, Black Panther, they are able to adapt the comics and not squeeze 50 hours of content into a 2-hour movie and like have to cut all the good stuff and have to rush everything. With the exception of things like I said, Black Panther and Iron Man 2 sucked ass. Black Panther, we already did that. You remember that one? No, we didn't like that one.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Yeah, so with a couple exceptions like Iron Man 2 and Black Panther, Marvel it's been mostly good. With DC, it's ironic how DC, their animated movies are outstanding and most of their live action movies are garbage. Because it's funny, like I remember watching an episode of I remember Justice League, the one where they're having flashbacks, and Amanda Waller. There's that 13-year-old girl called Ace who was putting.
I don't remember that.
Who was putting like a
It's been a long time since I watched that.
Who was experimenting on her whole life, and she's like, and it talks about like the validity, the whole end. Does their ends really justify the means? And you have the scene where she's talking about
I have not watched that episode. I don't remember that episode.
It's one where Amanda Waller is talking about how she experimented on all those kids and did the whole.
Yeah, well,
thing.
either way, that's how.
There was this very emotional scene where it shows off Batman's humanity, where there's this little girl, and all she ever wanted was to be a normal kid, but her whole life she was spent in a laboratory being experimented on, and she's like, they got their weapon, I got cheated out of my childhood, and you can see how Batman relates to her. He's like, I know how that feels, and she's like, you do, don't you? And because she can read his mind, and eventually, at the end of the day, Batman's only human. All these other superheroes can do whatever they want, but Batman, all he can do at the end of the day is comfort a little girl in her dying hours, and like that was a very emotional moment to me. That was even a movie. That was a 22-minute episode cartoon, and that had more impact to me and showed off more of Batman's humanity and prowess as a well-written character. And every single DCEU movie put together. Okay. Note to self, DC, get back Paul Dini. You need him. Okay, I don't care how much money it costs. I don't care what you have to do.
I really think I really feel like, and this is my personal opinion, if you're gonna go into like a certain emotion, like don't make it one emotion.
Yeah.
Like make it a multitude of things.
So
humans are
conflicted.
Well, humans have so many layers.
Yes.
And I think that's something that like a series of comics have been able to do very well.
Like with DC, like with the DCEU, you see how Bruce Wayne is like, if there's even a 1% chance that he can do something dangerous to society, we have to take it as an absolute certain. And you can see how he's very obtuse and very strict about everything. But what's funny is, I remember there was a similar episode in Batman the Animated Series, it was the New Batman Adventures, where Batman is beating up on a security guard for the Joker who's working security for the Joker, and he terrorizes him in front of his family, and Nightwing says this is wrong, we shouldn't abuse people to get what we want, and then we see later on that Bruce Wayne hired the same person to be a security guard for Wayne Tech. So he says Batman may be a jerk, but Bruce Wayne believes in helping people. So it's like that. Like maybe like that one episode did more to flesh out Batman and Bruce Wayne than every single movie in the DCEU. Like, why is it that cartoons can have such a powerful impact on you and make you think about the validity of right and like the conscious and like the conscious, the struggle between right and wrong, whereas live action movies are garbage with all this garbage dialogue, hammy acting, like.
Yeah, I again, like, we could go on about that.
Yeah.
But
we're here to discuss this movie. Sorry, we're off on a tangent, but I just can't just talk about a Batman movie without talking
about the rest of anything.
I mean,
especially the state of what the DCU is going.
Yeah, back in '93, we had this awesome movie, and now in the past 5 years, since 2013, we've had garbage after garbage after garbage with these live action superhero turds. We got Man of Steel. That was funny scene in Man of Steel where there's
that's just like
where Zod's like, either you die or I do, and I was laughing my ass off, and no one else in the theater was under. They were like, why is he laughing? I'm like, because that dialogue is shit.
Again, like I would point to like every I would like here's the thing, I would point to all the animated series that they've created before, and just because like all of these have like are able to give us characters that are more, that are multi-layered. They have all these things. Here's the thing, as I like to quote Shrek, ogres are like onions. Onions have layers. Yeah. Ogres have layers. You get it. We both have layers. And I would say that is basically why all these, like, we go back to these characters. Like, we've seen, like, the best parts are the ones that, like, utilize those layers. Yeah. And that's why I love Batman Mask of the Phantasm.
Yes.
Because
but in final thoughts, let's see, I like
I mean, this is a good supplement to, like, the animated series, but I think it works well on its own as well.
Yeah.
Well, if you're a huge Batman fan, like, if you haven't already, like, I would suggest, like, watching this. Yeah. I'm sure everyone's watched the animated series, so this would be great.
It just came out like last week on Blu-ray, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it came out October 30th for Halloween. It came out for Halloween on Blu-ray.
Yeah, it's.
Was it 31st or 30th? Yeah.
Yeah. Again, like, what more can we say? You know, it's Batman, like, and the best version of Batman.
One of the best. I haven't read every version of him, but I know.
Yeah, I could say this is like it's, I don't know, it's the most well-known, the best, most well-known version, if I can.
Yeah, one of them.
Well, all right, fine. One of them.
Oh, I wouldn't look at it. I wouldn't see every version, but it's my personal favorites.
It's mine too.
It's because it's the one I grew up with. I remember watching reruns of it on Toonami back in the early 2000s, like late 90s, early 2000s.
I watched it back when it was on, like, Kids WB.
They had Batman.
Yeah.
Really? Was that Batman Beyond? You're getting mixed with Batman Beyond?
Well, I watched every version. I watched any version on. I watched. Well, I mean, it's Warner Brothers, so it owns both of those networks. Yeah. But yeah. Again, that's our cue. Peace out, man.